You're listening to One Family, What's God Doing? Where we explore what God's doing in YWAM locations throughout Virginia. We can't wait for you to find out what God's doing today.
Welcome back to What's God Doing, and we have some amazing stories ahead for you. Right now, there are students from our Discipleship Training School serving around the world on an outreach that will go over the next few months. And in this time, God is doing so much. And there are so many stories, but they're sharing a few of them with you. So in the coming weeks, we can't wait for you to hear how God is at work around the world. Let's take a listen.
Hi, I'm Hadassah, and I'm from Michigan on a U.S. Outreach team in Nashville. Yesterday, we went to a sports academy, which at first we thought was a gym, but it actually has coaches for a bunch of different things, for like soccer, football, volleyball, baseball, basketball, and gym for both adults and younger kids. And so we went out there for an outreach to do evangelism, which we were invited by one of the main guys who goes there. And so we kind of was just thrown into the mix, and it was kind of hard to figure out exactly what we were supposed to do and what group we were supposed to be talking with during their breaks. So when we first arrived, we ended up talking to 3 girls and talked to them about, someone gave their testimony, and then another person started talking to them about the gospel. And then the girls left, and we prayed for them after they left and wrote them some notes to give to them later. Then, as we were on our break, waiting for stuff to do, we started praying for all the staff members there, wrote down some notes for them, and then we ended up going and talking to a girl who was working there at the time at the counter. Her name was Alexis, and started talking to her about the gospel, and she was a Christian, and she was very open to all we were talking about. We prayed for her a couple of times and started like a relationship with her, talked to her for almost an hour, it felt like. Around the time that we were finishing up with that, our group that we were supposed to talk to was let out, and we ended up talking to a couple of girls about the gospel. One of our guys shared his testimony with them, and we talked about the gospel with them, and we prayed for them. They seemed a bit open, but also a bit closed off, so it was kind of a 50-50 on how it went. While we were doing this, a couple of guys were talking to a father and his son, and a couple of the Nashville leaders were talking to a mother whose daughter was talking to us at this time. The mother sounded very open and was very happy with what we were doing. And then the girl, Alexis, eventually she changed shifts with a guy at 8 o'clock and then came back to one of our leaders. And the leader started talking to her about the Holy Spirit and started talking to her more about the gospel. And they talked about for another 15 minutes or so. Eventually, she accepted us to pray for her, allowing the Holy Spirit to come into her life, which was very amazing because she had never heard about the Holy Spirit at first and was very open to accepting it that day. Then the guy who had taken her shift, he was being talked to by a couple of guys as well and was being prayed for at this time as well. And I ended up also giving one of the staff members who was leaving her notes that we had written down for her. So the Bible verse I have for today is, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Joshua 1:9. Which at first, when we were thrown into this, we had no clue what we were doing, and it almost felt discouraging, but the Holy Spirit was there the entire time you were there. It was very strong. You could feel it. And even if we didn't have a good connection with the girls, Alexis and whoever else was working, I feel needed that more than the children needed it.
We are so grateful for these students and the ways that they are serving throughout the world. And we want to encourage you to continue to pray for them as they serve. So thank you, students, for sharing, and thank you for listening, and not just for listening, but for journeying with us as we together, as one family, explore what it means to know God and make Him known.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of One Family, What's God Doing? If you'd like to learn more about what God's doing in Virginia, visit us at ywamva.org and join us next week for more stories of God at work.